They say when you're close to death, your life flashes before your eyes. That's a lie. All I saw were hospital ceiling tiles, stained from age and neglect. All I heard was the rhythmic beep of the monitor tracking what little fight my body had left. And all I felt was absence. Not pain. Not peace. Just absence. The kind that cuts deeper than any scalpel. I was in that hospital room for 4 days. Emergency surgery. Internal bleeding. The kind of thing they whisper about in waiting rooms. Doctors had used words like critical window, and if we hadn't caught it when we did, the nurse told me I was lucky. Funny thing is, I didn't feel lucky. Not when I opened my eyes and saw my wife, Callie, standing by the window, arms crossed, purse on her shoulder, like she was waiting for her Uber, not praying for her husband's life. "Hey," I croaked, my throat raw from the tubes. She didn't even look at me. Just sighed. "Oh good, you're awake," she said. Not relief. Not love. Just logistics. I tried to sit up. Big mistake. My ribs felt like someone took a crowbar to them. I gasped, instinctively reaching for the button to call the nurse, my hand shaking. "Don't," she snapped. "You already called them like 3 times this hour." I blinked, confused. "I think I need help." She rolled her eyes. "I'm not your babysitter. Handle it yourself." That sentence, that tone, that moment, burned into my memory so deep I think it scarred my soul. I just nodded and stayed silent. Because I knew something that I hadn't wanted to admit for the last 2 years. She didn't love me anymore. I could have died, and she would have complained about the inconvenience. We met 6 years earlier at a friend's engagement party. She was the kind of woman who filled a room, loud laugh, wine glass always in hand, that mix of beauty and bravado that makes weak men chase her and smart men stay away. I thought I was different. Thought I saw the real her. Thought all that fire came from passion, not pride. I was wrong. It started slowly after we married. The distance. The eye rolls. The silence that stretched longer than any fight. She'd go cold, then act like I imagined it. I kept convincing myself it was stress, or work, or maybe I just needed to try harder. So I did. I paid the bills, cleaned the house, took care of her mother when she got sick, canceled a fishing trip to stay home when she had the flu. When I landed in the hospital, I expected, stupidly, that maybe, just maybe, she'd show up for me the way I always had for her. She didn't. The moment I got discharged, I didn't say a word. I got in a cab, went home, and packed my bags. She laughed when I told her I was leaving. "You're being dramatic," she scoffed. "Go ahead. You'll come crawling back. They always do." She thought she'd won. And for the first few months, she probably thought she had. But I didn't come back. Instead, I rebuilt. It took time, more time than I care to admit. I had to relearn how to be alone, how to breathe without waiting for her approval, how to cook for one and not feel hollow. I went quiet. I healed in the dark. And I let her think I disappeared. Until 3 years later, her name lit up my phone. "Callie, 11 missed calls. Voicemail, please. Can we talk?" I messed up. Yeah, she messed up. But me? I was just getting started. I let the phone ring. Not once. Not twice. 11 times that day, her name flashed on my screen. Callie. I hadn't seen that name pop up in 3 years. Not since the day I walked out of our house with a single duffel bag and the clothes on my back. Funny thing is, I still remember the sound of the zipper on that bag clearer than I remember our wedding vows. Probably because one was honest. The other? Theater. The voicemail started around noon. "Hey, I don't know if this is still your number. It's Callie. Just call me when you get this, okay? Delete." 4 hours later. "I've been thinking about you. A lot. There's so much I want to say. Please, can we meet?" Delete. The last one came around midnight. Her voice cracked. "I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I need to talk to you. I miss you." I didn't delete that one. Not because I believed her, but because it confirmed something I'd been waiting on. The shift. The fall. The unraveling. See, people like Callie, they run on ego and perception. They don't apologize until the mask slips. Until something breaks. And from the sound of her voice, something had definitely snapped. I didn't respond. Instead, I poured myself a bourbon, neat, and stepped out onto the balcony of my new place. Downtown skyline lit up, cool wind brushing against my skin like a reminder. This is your life now. Yours, not hers. 3 years earlier, I'd been wheeled out of a hospital barely able to walk. Now, I was running my own consultancy, partnered with two other guys who'd also walked away from wreckage, one from a broken marriage, the other from a corporate burnout. We called it the Phoenix Group, because we all knew what it meant to rise from ash. Money wasn't the goal. Freedom was. I didn't just get a new apartment. I bought the entire floor. A few smart investments, a little real estate luck, and some old-fashioned discipline. Turns out you can build an empire while the person who left you for dead is too busy sipping rose and uploading gym selfies. But back to Callie. I'd heard things. Of course I had. Small world, and people talk, especially when they're pretending they're doing better than they are. After I left, she moved in with some finance guy. Nice condo. Flashy lifestyle. The kind of shallow safety net she used to mock other women for chasing. That lasted maybe a year before he dumped her. Word was, he caught her texting one of his friends, said she was emotionally unavailable and deeply manipulative. That's one way to put it. But I already knew what he didn't. Callie couldn't love someone. She could only use them. And when the using stopped working, she got scared. That's why she was calling me now. Not because she missed me, but because the mask no longer worked on anyone else. You don't crawl back to a man you humiliated unless the world's finally stopped clapping for your performance. And me? I had no plans of joining the Encore. But I wasn't done yet. No, not by a long shot. The best kind of revenge doesn't scream. It whispers. The first time I saw her again, she didn't see me. I was walking out of a meeting with a potential investor, downtown cafe, leather portfolios, and those polished smiles that only come with power. It had gone well. I just signed a multi-year strategy deal, and the guy practically begged me to join his board. Not bad for a man who used to beg nurses to adjust his hospital bed. As I stepped outside, I spotted her across the street. Callie. Same posture. Same calculated elegance. She wore a crisp blazer that probably cost more than my first car. Sunglasses perched just right on her nose. Her smile was aimed at someone, a man, maybe early 40s, well-dressed, not bad-looking. But it wasn't real. I knew that smile. I used to think it was for me, once upon a time. Back when I still believed people like her could feel things that weren't self-serving. But I could see the twitch in her cheek, the strain around the edges. It was all performance. A mask trying to hold its place on a face that had started to crack. I didn't approach her. Didn't wave. Didn't cross the street. I just watched. And maybe she felt it, because for one strange second, her head turned. The sunglasses didn't hide the pause in her step, or the flicker of something across her face. Recognition? Regret? I don't know. I turned and walked away. Back to my car. Back to my life. Back to everything she no longer had access to. A few days later, my phone buzzed again. A new number. New area code. But the message? Classic Callie. I know you probably hate me, but I just want to talk. Please. I've changed. Changed. That word gets thrown around a lot after the damage is done, doesn't it? Let me tell you something. People don't change when they lose you. They change when they lose access to using you. I didn't reply. I didn't block her either. Why? Because silence is a reply. And that silence? It started echoing in her life louder than any insult could have. She messaged again 2 days later. I saw you the other day. You look good. Really good. You seem happy. I was. But she wasn't. And that was the difference now. Later that week, I met someone for drinks. Her name was Lena, sharp wit, warm eyes, didn't care about the car I drove or the watch on my wrist. We talked for hours, and she didn't once bring up followers or fitness apps or her ex. She didn't know my past. Didn't care about the wreckage behind me. And that felt like oxygen. Lena laughed like it wasn't a performance. She listened. She noticed. Meanwhile, Callie kept sending messages. I've been doing a lot of thinking. You were always good to me. I didn't see it at the time. Remember that trip to Denver? That Airbnb with the fireplace? I think that was the last time I felt safe. Nostalgia's a funny drug. It's a last resort for people who only value something after they destroyed it. I didn't reply. She sent one more. I deserve that silence, don't I? Yes, Callie. You do. But I wasn't going to say it. She could sit with that silence. Let it dig in. Let it keep her company at night. Because the man she left behind? He died in that hospital bed. The one walking now? He's not interested in giving closure to the person who buried him. The first crack showed up in the most predictable place, social media. It started with a post, a throwback photo of us. Callie and me, 3 years ago, standing on a hiking trail in Colorado. I was holding her waist. She had that perfect half smile aimed at the camera, And the caption? Some people you never really forget. Hashtag growth, hashtag healing. Cute. And transparent as hell. It got a handful of comments. Mostly from her gallery of curated friends, the ones who used to sip wine with her and roll their eyes whenever I brought up early retirement or building something beyond brunch plans. They dropped hearts, flame emojis, a few "you guys were so good together" crying face, and one "he was always such a gentleman." They weren't wrong. But I wasn't that man anymore. The second post came 2 days later. A video, Callie in soft lighting, soft makeup, talking into the camera with that faux vulnerable tone influencers use when they want you to forget the kind of person they were. Sometimes, we push away the people who mattered most, not because they failed us, but because we failed ourselves. I was young. I was hurting. I didn't know how to love right. But I'm learning. The comments poured in. She's grown so much. Whoever he was, I hope he's listening. You're so strong, queen. Let me tell you something. You can cry into your phone for likes. You can dress your guilt up in poetry and filters. But if you laughed when someone was crawling through their lowest moment, no amount of lighting will make you human again. I didn't respond. But my silence? It was driving her insane. That week, she sent another message. No opener. No preamble. I miss you. I miss who I was with you. That one stopped me cold. Because for the first time, she said something accidentally honest. She didn't miss me. She missed how she felt when I loved her. She missed the version of herself that was propped up by my devotion, my sacrifices, my blind loyalty. That's what narcissists mourn, the supply, not the soul. Meanwhile, life was moving forward without her. Lena and I had started seeing each other regularly. She wasn't flashy, didn't post every meal, didn't spend dinner glued to a screen. She made space for silence. She asked questions without trying to steer the answers. She didn't flinch when I told her I'd nearly died in a hospital bed while my wife ordered Uber Eats in the waiting room like it was just another Tuesday. Lena looked me in the eye and said, "That must have felt like being abandoned while still breathing." I nodded, and that was enough. She didn't try to fix it. She just stayed. That was new for me. But Callie? She was spiraling. Her stories turned cryptic. Sad quotes. Late-night rants. A close-up of her wine glass with the caption, "It's the trust for me." Or the lack of it. She was unraveling in real-time. Publicly. Pathetically. The woman who once mocked other people's desperation had become a walking exhibit of it. Friends of hers, mutual ones, started reaching out. "Hey man, I don't want to be in the middle of anything, but she's really not doing well. She keeps bringing you up. Every time we hang out. Like, obsessively. Did you know she still wears the necklace you gave her?" And still. I said nothing. I had no interest in revenge through words. I wanted her to understand what it's like to talk into a void and get no reply. To know that the one person who used to catch her every time is watching now, arms folded, and letting her fall. It was a Wednesday. Not the kind of day anything dramatic should happen. Just a plain, gray, nothing special Wednesday. I'd just gotten back from the gym, tired, hoodie still damp with sweat, protein shake in one hand, phone in the other, when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Thought maybe it was the mail guy needing a signature or some overeager real estate agent dropping a flyer. But the second I opened the door, I saw her. Callie. Standing there on the front step like a ghost that didn't realize it was dead. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, no. Callie was still the picture of polish, hair straightened, trench coat cinched perfectly at the waist. But something in her eyes had shrunk. Something that used to burn behind them now just flickered. "Hi," she said. I didn't answer. I just looked at her, long enough to make her shift her weight from one foot to the other. She tried again. "Can we talk?" I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. Didn't invite her in. Didn't offer a seat. Just stood there, silent. She blinked, taken aback. Like she was expecting me to fold the second she showed up. Like she thought nostalgia would undo the damage. Like I'd forgotten the words, "I'm not your babysitter." "You look good," she offered, voice soft. "You look the same," I replied. That landed like a slap. She didn't flinch, but she felt it. "I know this is weird," she said. I couldn't keep texting. I had to see you." "Why?" She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. "I don't know. Because I miss you. Because I can't stop thinking about what we had. Because I was a coward, and you didn't deserve what I did." I let that hang there. Let the silence stretch until it hurt. Then I asked, "Did you come here for forgiveness?" "No," she said quickly. "I came here because I think maybe we can try again." There it was. The boldness. The delusion. The sheer entitlement. She thought time would soften the truth. That my silence was just the warm-up to reconciliation. That 3 years of ignoring her was just me, playing hard to get. I leaned in. Just enough so she'd feel the weight of what I was about to say. You didn't show up when I almost died, Callie. You watched me fade in a hospital bed and rolled your eyes. You told me to handle it myself. You laughed when I left. Her throat bobbed. Her eyes glossed. I continued. I built a life without you. And I don't need your closure. You're not a chapter. You're a warning. Her voice cracked. I made a mistake. No. You made a choice, I said, voice sharp. Mistakes are accidents. You knew exactly what you were doing. She stared at me like she didn't recognize the man in front of her. That's because she didn't. The man she knew would have begged to understand. Would have broken down trying to fix it. Would have cried into his pillow and prayed for a second chance. That man died in a hospital bed, remember? This version of me? He doesn't negotiate with ghosts. She walked away after that. Slowly, not looking back. Probably hoping the door would swing open one last time and I'd call out her name. I didn't. I turned around, went inside, and locked the door behind me. Not to keep her out. To keep my peace in. It started with a mutual friend, Tasha, one of those people who somehow managed to stay in everyone's life without ever choosing sides. Callie's former wine night buddy. She used to laugh at my dad jokes and say, "Y'all are the only couple I know that still actually talks to each other." Right. I hadn't seen her in a year. So when she texted me, I figured it was about her photography business or some fundraiser she was roped into again. But no. Hey, just a heads up. Callie's been telling people you ghosted her. Said you abandoned the marriage after your surgery because you couldn't handle her success. I read it twice, then laughed. Out loud. Alone in my apartment. Couldn't handle her success? You mean the woman who laughed when I got laid off during COVID and said, "Well, maybe now you'll finally try something you're actually good at"? The woman who rolled her eyes every time I talked about starting my own business, who once said, "You're not an entrepreneur, babe. You're a dreamer. There's a difference." That's success? Sure, Callie. Spin it however you need to. Anything to keep the mirror from showing your real reflection. Tasha followed up with a screenshot. Callie's Facebook post. Some people just can't handle a strong woman. They'd rather disappear than grow alongside you. My name wasn't in it, but enough people knew the reference. She was rewriting history, crafting a narrative where she was the wounded goddess and I was the weak man who ran. But here's the thing about rewriting history. Only works if the people who lived it with you aren't still breathing. And I was breathing just fine. I didn't respond. Still hadn't. But Tasha's message lit a fuse in me. Not rage, not anymore. Just clarity. I opened my files. Every message. Every voicemail. Every ignored call during my hospital stay. Every receipt I'd kept when she blew through our joint account to buy $600 shoes while I was stuck on 4 fluids. Screenshots. Texts. The whole archive. I wasn't hoarding these for revenge. I was keeping them for the day truth needed defending. And apparently, that day was coming. Lena noticed something was off when we met for lunch that Saturday. "You're quiet," she said, sipping her iced tea. "That's usually my job." I hesitated, then showed her the post. She read it twice, lips tightening. "You gonna let that stand?" I shrugged. "For now." She tilted her head. "You're playing the long game." I nodded. She's good at lies. I'm better at patience. That night, Callie messaged me again. "I don't know why you're ignoring me. We were married, Nate. We shared a life. Doesn't that count for something?" I stared at the message. I could feel the bait. The guilt, the manipulation, the need for me to validate that yes, what we had mattered. It did matter. It mattered when I was bleeding out in a hospital bed and she wouldn't lift a finger. It mattered when she called me dramatic for leaving after she told me to handle dying on my own. Now, it mattered as a warning. So I didn't reply. I just saved the message, filed it with the rest, and poured myself another drink. Because the best way to ruin a liar is to let them keep talking while you build the case. 2 weeks after Callie tried to rewrite our history, I got a message I never expected. Her sister, Madeline. Now before you start thinking sisterly loyalty would make her untouchable, let me tell you something about Madeline. She was always watching. Quiet, reserved, 2 years younger than Callie, and nothing like her. She never liked how Callie talked to me. Never laughed when she belittled me at dinner. She was the only one who looked at me like a person, not some walking bank account with a heartbeat. We hadn't spoken since the divorce. But there she was. Text. Middle of a Tuesday. Hey, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but we need to talk. It's about Callie. I stared at the screen for a while. Replied with one word. Talk. We met for coffee at a small shop across from the park. She looked the same, messy bun, oversized sweater, still using 1-2 mini sugar packets. She didn't waste time. She's spiraling, Madeline said, stirring her coffee. Not just emotionally. Financially. She's burned through savings, tried to move back in with mom and dad, but they shut the door this time. Apparently you were the only adult holding her life together. I raised an eyebrow. And now she's rewriting the story. Madeline nodded. She's saying you ghosted. That you were controlling. That you wouldn't let her live. I laughed. Controlling? The woman who told me when to speak at dinner parties. She's desperate, Madeline said. I told her to stop. Told her it was pathetic. She flipped out. Said I never took her side. That true? I asked. Madeline didn't blink. I saw how she treated you. That's all the side I needed. We sat in silence for a minute. Then she pulled out her phone. I don't know if this matters, but I have screenshots. From her group chat. The one with her friends. And a few voicemails she left me the night you left. She handed it over. I scrolled. He left like a coward. Let him sulk. He'll come back. I didn't mean what I said at the hospital. I was just tired. He's being dramatic. If I cry hard enough, he'll probably forgive me. He always does. And the voicemails? Let's just say she had a few drinks in her and zero shame. I only married him because he was stable. I didn't think I'd be stuck with that forever. I swear, if I have to hear him talk about his startup one more time, I'll smother him with a throw pillow. I handed the phone back. That's enlightening, I said. Madeline looked up at me, serious. She doesn't know I came here. But I couldn't watch her drag your name just to make herself feel better. You deserved better, Nate. It hit me harder than I expected. Not because I needed validation, but because someone else finally said it. Out loud. Later that night, I got another message from Callie. Like clockwork. I've been thinking about the way you used to hold me when I was upset. I miss feeling safe. The irony? I'd never felt less safe than I did when I was with her. That kind of betrayal, the quiet kind, the death by 1,000 cuts kind, it doesn't scar your body. It scars your belief in people. But thanks to Madeline, I wasn't the only one who remembered the truth now. There were receipts. There were witnesses. There were cracks in her mask. And it was starting to slip. It was a Sunday afternoon when it happened. Sun was out, music low, windows open, a rare calm. Lena was in the kitchen, barefoot, dancing in that effortless way she did when she thought no one was watching. She made being alive look like something graceful. Something free. I was on the couch reading when I heard the knock. Not the casual kind. The kind with rhythm. Intent. Too fast, too sharp. Lena glanced toward the door, then back at me. You expecting someone? No, I said, standing. The second I opened it, my stomach dropped. Callie. Again. This time not with apologies. This time with strategy. She glanced past me into the apartment, taking it all in. Her gaze landed on Lena, and something flickered in her expression. Not surprise. Not even hurt. Territory. Like a fox that wandered back into a field she thought she owned, only to find a new fence had been put up. Hi, she said. Calm. Almost smug. Sorry to drop in. I just needed to see you. Lena stepped into the doorway behind me, resting a hand gently on my back. Callie's eyes flicked to her. Then back to me. I'm with someone, I said flatly. You should go. She gave a little laugh, the fake kind. Well, no room for conversation? There was room, I replied. 3 years ago. When I couldn't breathe in a hospital bed and you said you weren't my babysitter. Lena stiffened. Callie's jaw tensed, but she recovered fast. I didn't come to fight, she said. I just wanted to clear the air. Let you know I've been working on myself. Therapy. Reflection. Growth. She even had the gall to smile when she said growth. But here's the thing. Growth doesn't mean a damn thing if it sprouts from ashes you lit yourself. I'm not interested in your redemption arc, I said. Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying. And I'm sure as hell not letting you sell it to people in my life. Callie's gaze landed on Lena again. You know, I used to be where you are. Thinking he was some perfect man. Thoughtful. Quiet. Loyal to a fault. Lena didn't blink. Just tilted her head slightly. And then, she asked, voice calm but cold. Callie smirked. Then he showed his true colors. Lena stepped forward. No, she said. Then you pushed him off a cliff and got surprised he learned how to fly. Silence. God, I could have kissed her right then and there. Callie's lips tightened. Her eyes flicked back to me, now colder. You think this is forever? She said. She won't worship you forever, Nate. I'm not looking for worship, I said. Just respect. Something you never figured out how to give. She stared at me for one long beat, then turned, walked down the hallway without a word. When the door clicked shut, Lena turned to me. You okay? I nodded. Then I looked at her. Really looked. Because there was something about watching your past crash headfirst into your present that changes you. It reminded me I didn't just survive Callie. I evolved. She posted it on a Tuesday, middle of the day. Probably figured it was peak engagement time, sandwiched between people hate scrolling on lunch breaks and the late afternoon doom scrollers. I didn't see it first. Lena did. She sent it with a simple message. Yes, who just dropped a main character confession. I opened the link. There she was. Callie. Front-facing camera, natural light angle just right, voice soft like the inside of a prayer. Hi. This isn't easy for me, but I've spent the last few years reflecting, healing, and I just feel like I owe some people an apology. She exhaled like it physically pained her to admit wrongdoing. I hurt someone who was always there for me, someone who gave and gave until he had nothing left. I didn't realize what I had until I lost it. And that's on me. Cut to a tear slipping down her cheek. Perfectly timed. Perfectly lit. So perfect, in fact, it looked suspiciously like she did a dry run first. And maybe in a vacuum, the video could have fooled people. But here's the thing about trying to go viral with your growth. It only works if nobody behind the curtain decides to speak. That curtain? Ripped wide open. Within 2 hours, comments were split. Half her followers were drinking it up like warm roast. You're so brave. Growth looks good on you. You should forgive you. You were young. But then came the ones with teeth. Ones with names I recognized. Tasha. Madeline. Even a couple of our old friends who hadn't spoken to me in years. Brave would have been apologizing privately instead of performing it publicly. The man almost died and she told him to handle it himself. Let that sink in. This isn't an apology. This is image control. And then someone, I still don't know who, leaked the screenshots. The group chat quotes. The voicemails Madeline shared. The he's dramatic line. The smother him with a pillow joke. The whole nasty, arrogant paper trail Callie never thought would see daylight. Suddenly, the narrative turned. The comments got vicious. This ain't growth. This is damage control. You're not sorry. You're just alone. Say sorry without trying to trend for once. You thought the internet would forget. It didn't. And just like that, her mask cracked. She turned off the comments. Then deleted the video. Then posted some vague, passive-aggressive story about people not letting others grow and healing not needing an audience. But too late. The audience had already seen behind the curtain, and the main character wasn't her anymore. Lena watched the whole thing unfold from across the couch. Didn't say much. Just glanced over once and said, You know what's funny? You never once tried to destroy her. I shrugged. She did it herself. I just didn't stop her. That's the thing about revenge. It doesn't always come in fire. Sometimes, it comes in the form of standing still while the person who wronged you digs their own grave, one comment, one lie, one TikTok at a time. After the video imploded, things went quiet. For about 48 hours. Then the real storm hit. The kind that doesn't come from trending hashtags, but from the people who actually knew her. The ones who'd spent years orbiting her little son, too afraid or too polite to speak. Until now. I didn't say a word. Never had to. But suddenly, everyone else did. The first public post came from Alex, her ex-best friend. The one Callie iced out a year before our divorce when Alex started dating a guy Callie didn't approve of. Seeing Callie's video made me realize how many people she stepped on just to feel taller. I was her friend until I stopped being useful. This isn't an apology. It's branding. Then came Nicolette, one of the girls from her old wine club. She humiliated Nate in front of us more times than I can count. Thought it was funny. Now she wants to cry on camera and pretend she's a victim? Nah, I'm good. They weren't attacking her. They were reporting her. Witnesses. Receipts. Memories she thought people had buried out of politeness. They came back with shovels. Even her own cousin posted. We begged her to stop weaponizing people's empathy. She never cared who she hurt, only how she looked after. Suddenly her followers, the ones who had blindly believed her crocodile tears, started disappearing. Her I'm just healing story started getting maybe 24 reactions instead of thousands. She went from sympathy to silence, almost overnight. But here's the part that still gets me. She called me. Not a text. Not an email. Not another filtered video. An actual call. I let it ring out. She left a voicemail. Her voice was hoarse, not from crying, but from exhaustion. I know I deserve all of this. I do. I didn't think it would go like this. I thought people would understand. That they'd see I was trying. She paused. Then, I never meant to ruin you. I just didn't think you'd actually leave. Let that sink in. Not, I'm sorry I hurt you. Not, I wish I'd treated you better. Just shocked that I'd finally meant it when I walked out that door. Callie was used to holding people by invisible strings, manipulating emotions like it was a dance she choreographed. But when the string broke, she didn't know how to stand without the marionette show. No? She was collapsing in slow motion in real time for everyone to see. And me? I was done being part of her show. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. For the first time in years, she stopped calling. No texts. No voicemails. No surprise pop-ins. It was like someone finally told her the show was over and the theater had burned down. And me? I didn't feel triumphant. Didn't pop champagne or post some clever quote about healing. I just breathed. Really breathed. The kind of breath that doesn't stick in your throat because you're waiting for the next insult in disguise. The kind that comes when you realize you've been holding it for years just to keep someone else comfortable. It's funny, when you're in survival mode, thriving feels like a foreign language. But now, I had silence. And I had Lena. It started small. Saturday mornings became slow. Coffee that wasn't reheated twice. No passive-aggressive glances about the time I spent reading. No tension when I asked about her day, because with Lena, answers didn't come loaded with traps. She wasn't trying to prove anything. She wasn't trying to mold me into some Pinterest version of a man she could show off at brunch. She just let me be. One night, as we were cleaning up dinner, she said, "You always watch me when I move around the kitchen." I smiled. That's because I used to flinch in rooms like this. She didn't say anything at first. Just reached out, slid her hand across my knuckles. Warm. Steady. I don't know what she did to you, she whispered, but you're not him anymore. She was right. I started sleeping better. Eating better. Hell, I even started laughing again, not the polite chuckles I used to give Callie just to keep the peace. Real laughter. Deep, stupid, soul-lifting laughter that comes when no one's measuring your worth by your income, your silence, or how fast you can apologize for something you didn't do. My company was thriving too. Phoenix Group was now handling 3 long-term contracts, and 2 of our former competitors had approached us about acquisition offers. I wasn't just out of the hospital bed anymore. I was building a fortress out of what nearly killed me. And yet, I still kept a folder. A quiet, locked-away archive of screenshots, voicemails, receipts. Not out of bitterness. Not because I wanted revenge. But because sometimes, scars need a mirror. Something to remind you where you've been so you never let yourself crawl back into the same burning room. One night, Lena asked me, "Do you ever think about what you'd say to her if she showed up again?" I thought for a second, then said, "Nothing. Nothing." She got all my words. The last of them. When I was sick. When I was silent. When I was building a new life, and she was still rehearsing her apology. Lena nodded slowly. And now, I looked over at her. At the woman who never once made me feel small. Now she gets my silence. That's more than fair. Callie always treated her image like a currency. She didn't care much for truth, but perception? That was sacred. Her name, her brand, her version of the narrative, that was where she lived. That was her throne. And finally, that throne collapsed. It started with a brand deal gone sideways. One of those boutique skincare lines she used to plug for free products finally offered her a paid collaboration. Not huge money, but enough for her to make a little video and feel like she was still relevant. She filmed something, soft lighting, minimal makeup, real talk aesthetic. Except someone recognized her. One of the younger girls at the brand's agency had followed the drama. She saw the viral apology video, the comments, the leaked screenshots, the group chat quotes. She even recognized my name from the threads. Word spread. The partnership didn't just get canceled, it got publicly disavowed. The brand issued a statement. "We do not support individuals who attempt to monetize apologies for behavior that caused significant emotional harm to others. We regret this oversight." And just like that, she went from aspiring influencer to reputation risk. Her comments section filled with people dragging her for fake healing. Every post became a battlefield. Every attempt to pivot the narrative got pulled under. You could feel it. The slow, suffocating loss of control. The same way she used to suffocate people with silence, sarcasm, and guilt. Now the silence belonged to her. Mutual acquaintances started reaching out again. Not to gossip, but to quietly confess. I feel stupid. I believed her for so long. Even defended her when you left. I remember that night at dinner when she joked about unplugging your hospital monitors. We all laughed. I hate that we laughed. I just want you to know, people see her now. Really see her. I didn't say much in return. Just 2 words. Took time. Because truth? It always takes the long way. But it gets there eventually. Then came the kicker. She tried to relaunch her podcast. Something about growth, relationships, and lessons learned. New name, new logo, same rehearsed vulnerability. The teaser dropped with a dramatic quote. Sometimes, the person you lose becomes the person who saves you by leaving. A few people liked it. Then someone dug up the receipts. Clips, screenshots, side-by-side comparisons of what she said in private chats versus her wisdom in the trailer. By the end of the week, the entire comment section was buried in laughing emojis, exposed lies, and links to the hospital voicemail thread. Episode 1. Never aired. Website. Taken down. Podcast. Deleted. And just like that, the one weapon she used better than anyone, attention, turned on her. She became that woman who faked an apology to save her image and got caught in 4K. Lena and I watched it all unfold like a storm happening on the other side of the glass. Cozy, warm, untouched by the wind. She's drowning, Lena said one night, phone in hand. She built the flood, I replied. Then I reached across the table and took her hand. Because I wasn't going to let Callie's fall define the rest of my story. No, my story was about something else now. Peace earned. Dignity reclaimed. And finally, joy. She should have known better. But when you're desperate, you get sloppy. And Callie? She was past desperate. She was grasping. Drowning in the reputation she'd poisoned, reaching out to anyone still above water. So she reached out to my mother. It was a Sunday. Crisp, early spring. I was fixing the old garden shed behind my parents' house, something I used to do just to escape my marriage for a few quiet hours of hammer and dust. These days, I did it because I wanted to. Mom came out with lemonade, looking unsettled. Not scared. Not angry. Just disappointed. I had a visitor this morning, she said, setting the tray down. I didn't ask. I knew. Callie, she added, confirming what I already felt in my gut. Showed up like she used to. Hair done. Fake humility in her smile. That look in her eyes like she's the only one who understands the real world. I set the hammer down. What did she want? She said she owed us both closure. Wanted to explain herself. Said you were always so distant. That the marriage just crumbled because she didn't feel seen. Mom looked me dead in the eye. I told her she wasn't invisible. She was just finally being seen for who she really was. That hit harder than anything Callie could have said. See, my mother is a gentle woman. A former elementary school teacher, the kind of person who still writes thank you cards and remembers her neighbor's cat's birthday. She doesn't speak ill of people. She doesn't throw stones. But she also doesn't suffer liars. I let her talk, Mom continued. Didn't interrupt. Didn't roll my eyes like I wanted to. And then, I told her forgiveness is earned, not scripted. I told her she could keep her closure because the rest of us had already moved on. Then she added, and I reminded her you almost died, and she brought lip gloss to a hospital instead of empathy. I blinked. You said that. Mom took a sip of lemonade. Word for word. God, I love that woman. She left in tears, Mom said quietly. But not the kind that come from remorse. The kind that come from losing control. Callie wasn't used to doors being closed without a dramatic slam. She didn't know how to handle people who weren't playing her game. She thought she could go around me. Reach the people who mattered to me. Rewrite me in their eyes. But she forgot something vital. They knew me before she did. And they saw me after she left. There was no mask she could wear that would fool them anymore. That night, I sat on my porch, glass of bourbon in hand, and thought about how far I'd come. From a hospital bed, alone and bleeding, to this quiet seat beneath the stars, surrounded by truth. Callie could knock on every door in the world, but the locks had changed. It was a name I hadn't heard since before the hospital, a name that hit like a shot of cold water to the spine. Tyler Jones, the man whose name slipped from her drunken mouth the night she collapsed into the passenger seat and giggled. I slept with Tyler Jones. At the time, it was a bomb with no context. Now, Years later, it was a ghost, one I'd left buried. Until he reached out. The message came through LinkedIn of all places. Professional. Unexpected. Polite. Hey Nate. This is probably not a welcome message, but I owe you something. I'd really like 5 minutes of your time if you can spare it. I stared at it for a long time. I remembered the way she said his name, like it was a joke I wasn't in on. I remembered the silence that followed. The way she denied it. Then dodged it. Then forgot it. And now he was reaching out? Curiosity won. We met at a neutral spot. A little bar downtown, quiet enough for honest talk. He showed up early. Looked older than I remembered. Bit of gray in the beard, but the same eyes. The kind of guy who knew he wasn't a villain, but definitely wasn't a hero. Thanks for coming, he said. I nodded. Sat down. Let him stew in it. He got straight to it. I didn't know she was married when we started, he said. She told me you two were separating. Said the paperwork was already filed. That you were sleeping in different rooms. I stayed quiet. I wanted him to keep talking. He did. She was convincing. I believed her. Until I didn't. He took a breath. She used me, Nate. I was a distraction. A trophy. Something to make her feel like she still had power. She'd flirt with my friends. Play head games. One night she got drunk and told me she only married you because you were a safe bet. I clenched my jaw. He caught it. I'm not proud of it, he said. That's why I'm here. I didn't come to clear my name. I came because I heard what happened. The hospital. The silence. The whole damn story. And I figured, if someone had done that to me, I'd want to hear it straight. There was a pause. I finally spoke. So why now? He shrugged. Because karma's caught up with her, and I didn't want to be part of the wreckage anymore. He pulled out his phone. Showed me messages. Old ones. Screenshots he'd never deleted, not because he was holding on to her, but because he'd finally stopped lying to himself about the kind of person she was. There it was. He's so boring. You actually make me feel alive. If he found out, he'd probably cry. Ugh. I don't have time for emotional guys. Sometimes I fantasize about just disappearing and starting over with someone who actually challenges me. And then the kicker. Right after she visited me in the hospital, she messaged Tyler. He's acting like he almost died. God, it's not even that serious. I felt the heat rise in my chest, not rage. Not heartbreak. Relief. Relief that I didn't imagine it. Relief that the monster I saw in her was real, and now, undeniable. He slid the phone across the table. Take whatever you need, he said. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For my part in it. I didn't shake his hand when I left. Didn't need to. He wasn't a friend. But he was another puzzle piece that made the picture finally whole. That night, I sat with Lena and told her everything. Every word Tyler said. Every message he showed me. Every final nail in the coffin. And she just sat beside me. Quiet. Steady. You always said you felt like you were crazy, she whispered. Yeah, you're not. You never were. And for the first time since this whole damn story started, I believed it. It came on thick ivory paper. No return address. No perfume. Just a plain envelope, hand-delivered to my office by some poor bike courier who probably had no idea he was carrying the final gasp of a woman choking on her own regret. Inside, 3 pages. Blue ink. Her handwriting. Callie. The one who once couldn't string a single honest sentence together unless it ended in sarcasm. Now here she was, writing in cursive like it would soften the blows she'd once delivered with a smile. Nate. I know you probably won't read this. If I were you, I wouldn't. But just in case. I need to try. Everyone hates me now. I get it. I earned it. And the truth is, I'm not writing this to get you back. I'm writing it because I realize now, I never deserved you to begin with. When you almost died, when I told you to handle it, I thought I was being strong. I thought love was supposed to be effortless and pretty and convenient. You showed me something deeper, and I rejected it because I couldn't understand it. She went on. Words about therapy, about losing brand deals, about losing friends, family, her job. I thought I was the prize. Turns out I was just someone who hadn't been humbled yet. She talked about Tyler, claimed it was short-lived, claimed it meant nothing, claimed she cried after every time they were together because it made her feel smaller, not bigger. Yeah, sure. You were the mirror I never wanted to look in, because you showed me someone I couldn't live up to. So I tore you down instead. She ended it with this. I didn't just lose you. I lost the only version of myself I ever liked. The one who stood next to you and felt safe from the mess inside me. I hope you're happy now. I hope she sees you. I hope she never doubts the way your silence speaks louder than the prettiest lies. Don't reply. I wouldn't if I were you. Callie. I didn't reply. I didn't tear it up either. I folded it once, neatly, and slipped it into a drawer in my desk. Not as a keepsake. Not as a trophy. As evidence. Proof that I'd survived the hurricane. And that she knew it. That night, I sat across from Lena as she flipped through her travel planner. Where do you want to go next? She asked. Somewhere quiet. She smiled. Beach? Mountains? Desert? I looked at her. Really looked. The woman who never needed to apologize for things she never did. The woman who never turned pain into power plays. The woman who never made me earn love like it was a paycheck I had to reapply for every day. Anywhere you are, I said. I used to think closure came in a conversation. A sit-down. A reckoning. A final volley of words that wrapped everything in a bow and sent you off into the sunset, clean and clear. But after that letter, after 3 years of silence, reflection, and rebuilding, I knew better. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you. From the moment you stop needing answers to questions they were never honest enough to answer in the first place. So I didn't burn the letter. I didn't frame it. I just let it be exactly what it was. Proof that she lost. Quietly. Completely. Without even realizing it until it was too late. My world kept spinning. Lena and I booked the trip. 3 weeks across coastal Europe. No itinerary. No clock. We wandered old cities, ate food with our hands, danced in the middle of narrow cobblestone streets. No one watched us, and we didn't care. One night in Italy, after too much red wine and a sunset that looked painted by God himself, Lena turned to me and said, "You ever think about what would have happened if you'd stayed?" I didn't hesitate. Yeah, I'd be dead inside, but I'd be polite about it. She nodded. You don't talk about her anymore. Because she doesn't live here anymore, I said, tapping my chest. And that was true. She was gone. Exorcised. Not with fire and fury, but with stillness. With joy. I started writing again. Not emails. Not contracts. Stories. The kind of stuff I used to dream about back when I was suffocating in that marriage. Back when everything I did was filtered through her mood, her schedule, her fragile ego. Now I had space. And silence. And soul. I wrote about second chances. About starting over. Not about revenge. That's too small. I wrote about resurrection. One story caught the attention of a publisher. They offered me a deal. Essays on loss, growth, betrayal, and the quiet road back to yourself. I almost turned it down, afraid it would pull me back into her orbit. But Lena said, maybe it's not about her. Maybe it's about showing someone else there's life after abandonment. So I said yes. And just like that, the man who was once told he was dramatic for needing care became the man whose words helped others survive the same kind of pain. Funny how that works. Callie never reached out again. I'd heard rumors. She moved cities, changed her last name online, tried rebranding again with some wellness plus worth nonsense. But no one was listening anymore. Turns out, when people finally see the real you, no filter in the world can make them forget.